Hello and welcome to our direct talk. Today, Desta Haileselassie will be joining us. Desta, welcome. Before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Desta Haileselassie. I'm currently based in Washington, D.C. I'm a postdoctoral research fellow at the Howard University Department of Computer Science.
Desta, you've been doing an incredible work since the start of the war on Tigray. According to the Associated Press, you've compiled the names of more than 3,000 victims across Tigray. Of course, that was a month ago, so we understand if that number needs to be updated. So, do you have a team, or is this a personal project?
I can start from if this is a personal project or a team. We have a team called, an online platform team called Tighat Media. So I am a member of Tighat Media, and what we do at Tighat Media is we compile the list of civilian victims of the war on Tigray. We document the destruction of civilian infrastructures in Tigray. We also write reports and analysis about the war on Tigray. Like he said, I had an interview with the Associated Press team back in November, and the total list of civilian victims back then was, if I remember correctly, 3,116 to be precise. And yeah, I haven't done much progress after November, given the communication blackout in Tigray. If you remember, before June 2021, there was a limited access to internet and phone in Tigray. And we had very helpful Tigrayans on the ground in Tigray who used to send us handwritten notes with the list of victims, PDF files, images of files. But after the Tigray Defense Force retook Mekelle and other parts of Tigray after June 2021, there is total communication blackout in Tigray. So the current list that we have is, I think, 3,291, close to 3,300.
Can you tell us a little about your process? How do you collect your information and confirm your data, especially in light of the communications blackout that has been ongoing since the start of the conflict?
Like I tried to mention earlier, we had people in every district in Tigray who used to help me with the list of victims. I also collect information about the victims from social media posts. Posts by family members in the diaspora or other parts of Tigray. I also take lists of victims from other sources like international human rights organizations or international medias. These are like verified lists. So the way I confirm the victims is by directly contacting the family members. It could be either in Tigray or other parts of Ethiopia or in the diaspora.
Can you tell us a little about the stories of victims whose names you've collected? What does the composition look like? What are some of their stories?
I think we have tried to write an analysis. It was, I think, back in September, I guess, if I remember it correctly. So the composition of the victims ranges from, for example, if we take age-wise, especially the barbaric Eritrean soldiers, they were targeting young men from the age of 10, 12 to 49. So I remember we had 2/3 of the victims were from age 18 to 49, and this is called the most productive age bracket in the society. And if we see the analysis on a gender basis, so 91.8% of them were male, and 7.6% of them were female, and the rest 0.6% of them are unknown. And to answer, I think your first question was to tell you a story about the victims, right? Yeah, I think it would be very unfair for me, for example, to give names, to compare victims, one victim from the other. if you read the story of every victim, or if you watch the horrifying videos of every victim, it's so heartbreaking. For example, if you have seen the mass execution of young men in Mahwaradego, the mass execution in Mariam Dengalat, Aksum, the dead bodies of ethnic Tigrans found floating in Takaza River, in Saharti Samra. So it's going to be very unfair for me to pick names.
I understand that you've expanded into other frontiers. You've also compiled a list of Tigrayans arbitrarily detained by the Ethiopian government. How many names do you have on that list? And also tell us a little about the composition of that group as well.
Yeah, I think we have started compiling the list of detains from November 2020, because soon after the war started, Abiy Ahmed immediately started detaining the ethnic Tigrans who were members of the Ethiopian National Defense Force. So their numbers are believed to be from 15,000 to 17,000, and they are languishing in detention in prisons in Addis Ababa, in the south part of Ethiopia, in Afar, and in Redawa. So we have been collecting data about the details about these ex-members of the Ethiopian National Defense Force, for example, in which location they are being detained, the number, their military rank. So we have managed to collect details for about 8,000 to 10,000 of them. And after November 2021, if I remember correctly, it was on the 2nd of November 2021, Abiy Ahmed declared the state of emergency. So using the state of emergency as a pretext, Abiy's intelligence forces, supported by the Eritrean spies, started to systematically detain and kill Tigrayans in Addis Ababa and other parts of Ethiopia. And the composition looks like they were detaining every Tigrayan. For example, it ranges from doctors, university professors, university students, business owners, and investors. So I am mainly interested into the killing and death of Tigrayans inside the prison cells. For example, there was a massacre on the 21st of November in a place called Ma'rab Abaya. This was against the members of the Ethiopian National Defense Force. It is believed that more than 100 are massacred in a single day. So I have some information about the perpetrators and the killing, but I don't want to talk much about it in the media now, since it's under investigation. And there was also days of civilians inside the prison cells, for example, from Mizan Tepi, Abbas Samiel, in Kaliti, in Addis Ababa. There was a report by the Reuters. I'm sure you might have seen it in the media. And there is also systematic killing of Tigrayan generals in the prison. For example, 3 months ago, there was a death of Major General Gabramedin Fuadu, also known as Wodnecho. So I'm very interested to take this as part of my documentation project of the Tighat media that I mentioned earlier, because I want them to be included as the victims of Tigray genocide, because they are being targeted based on their ethnicity, Tigrayan identity.
Do you have relatives or close family members on that list?
Yes, yes, I do. I have about 19 family members from my mother's side. They were massacred by the barbaric Eritrean soldiers on the 2nd of December 2020 in the Goda bottles and glass factory. But to be honest, having relatives or family members in the list that I am doing, or that I have been doing for more than 21 months, it doesn't make it any different, because documenting what I have been documenting for more than 21 months, reading the stories and watching these horrifying videos, feels like everyone in the list is a close family member of mine.
How have you been able to do it for so long? Has it been painful to hear these stories, or would you say it was therapeutic in a way?
I think it's the work I'm doing is not easy, to be honest. It's very painful because to read the stories and keep doing it like for more than 21 months, it's not easy. I mean it has taken a toll, or mentally, physically, and emotionally on me. But I believe I have a good reason to keep doing it for more than 21 months, because I believe it's very important to document all the war crimes committed in Tigray. For example, if you remember, this International Commission of Human Rights Experts of the United Nations, they were asking to submit documented war crimes on Tigray. I think the deadline was on the 31st of July. So it's very important to document these war crimes. If you don't have a well-documented evidence, that means you have nothing to submit. This is the first reason why I do it. The second reason why I do it, why I keep doing it, no matter how tall the emotional, how high the emotional toll is because I want these victims to be remembered as victims of Tigray genocide. And I want the government of Tigray to have a memorial site for these victims. For example, if you go to Germany, you have a memorial site of the Holocaust against the European Jews during the Second World War in 1941 to 1945. If you go to Rwanda, you have a memorial site for the victims of the Rwandan genocide against Tutsi in 1994. If you go to Cambodia, you have they have a memorial site. So I want these victims to be remembered. I want them to be part of the new books to be written about the war on Tigray. I want them to be included as in new movies and songs to be made about Tigray. So these are some of the reasons why I keep doing it. So no matter how high the emotional toll is, I will keep doing it until justice in any way is delivered to those victims and the people of Tigray.
When was the last time you spoke to your family back home, Desta?
I think the last time I talked to my mother was 4 months ago, and I hope she's alive.
Thank you so much for joining us, Desta. Well, that wraps up this edition of our Direct Talk. Thank you for tuning in.